On this Defending the Kingdom, we will look at perspective, the right perspective, to look at the 10-1 Kansas City Chiefs. Yes, happy Thanksgiving to everyone around the world. And also, it's Raiders Week 2.0. And as always, Defending the Kingdom is brought to you by Ticketmaster, who is being used by more and more fans all the time because the Carolina game looked like it was 70% Chiefs fans.
Placement is down. Schrader's kick is up. Schrader's kick is good! 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 Spencer Schrader!
Hi, everyone. I'm Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs, along with senior team reporter Matt McMullen. And happy Thanksgiving to all of you. I know around the world you're going, well, wait a minute. We don't celebrate Thanksgiving on this weekend. Well, in the epicenter of the Chiefs Kingdom, we do. So it gives us a chance to say that we're thankful for all of you who are listening and viewing around the world.
Do you think people around the world are wondering what Black Friday is? Like, what's a Black Friday game?
Seems kind of macabre.
Yeah.
But if you're going to play a Black Friday game, you want to play the Raiders on Black Friday. Yes. So they have to wonder about that. And is it kind of bizarre? How do we get Black Friday?
I don't know.
Is it supposed to be a happy day of shopping? And it seems
like
weird to
why
me.
Black Friday? Like, why is it? I don't know.
Green Friday or Chartreuse Friday?
Because isn't like Black Monday when people get fired?
Yes.
So why Black Friday if you're spending money at the mall?
Probably because your credit card is smoldering.
That's a good point because you no longer have any money.
It's like looking at it. It's this scene on the old movie Planes, Trains, and Automobiles where he's looking at his burned out wallet and he's picking out his credit cards and they're just ash. That's what it is when it's Black Friday. You'll pay too much for something you can get on sale for after the holidays, but that's okay.
The good news is, though, we're playing the Raiders on another holiday. I don't know if Black Friday is a holiday, but it kind of is. It's like a special event day, and it feels like a good opportunity for some correction after what happened last year. Because the Raiders ruined my Christmas last year, and I'm ready to ruin their Black Friday. What do you say?
Can you ruin the Raiders' Black Friday?
I guess we could try.
Let's do it. Better than the alternative, quite honestly. But your Thanksgiving memories, because Thanksgiving and football go together. Mm-hmm. I get it that Detroit, since 1934, has hosted Thanksgiving Day games in professional football. Yeah, that's it. How does Dallas get it every year? They started in 1966. They started the same year we did. Now, we're in the AFL. We know about the rivalry between the Dallas Texans and Dallas Cowboys. Did they go, oh, we'll do Thanksgiving every year in the 3 o'clock window, and we'll be like Detroit later in the day? I don't know how Dallas got that.
Yeah, I don't know either. I do remember it was in 2006 that we hosted the first.
That was the big thing. That started the third game. So now we know this Thanksgiving there's 3 games, right? We were the first evening game, and if I'm not mistaken, it was the first NFL Network.
I think it was, yeah.
Play-by-play, and it was like, ooh, what is this? NFL, what is this thing they call the NFL Network? And they're going to do live play-by-play. And we had the first game in a glorious 19-10 victory on Thanksgiving night with a night kickoff against the Broncos.
I was there, so I would have been in, 6th or 7th grade.
And who took you? Bonnie take you to the
game?
game?
My dad took me. So back then I would talk my dad into taking me to these games. My dad's more of a baseball guy, not a huge football fan, but he would take me to the game because I wanted to go. And it was cold, if I remember. And Jared Allen had a huge tackle for loss or something. And I took my coat off and refused to put my coat on the rest of the game because I was wearing my Jared Allen jersey. And my dad was like, Matt, you got to put your coat on. It's freezing out here. I'm like, no, I don't need it. Like, if Jared Allen doesn't need it, I don't need it. And anyway, now I do this for a living, so it all worked out.
How much penicillin did you take for the bronchitis that you had?
I definitely probably got sick afterwards, yeah. But we won the game, and that's all that matters. I still have the same mindset, even, 20 years later.
Yeah, quick hair is not a bad thing. That's awesome, man. I love it. And Jared Allen, loved it wearing the number 69. But that was a big deal, that Thanksgiving game.
Yeah.
Now, that was one of 10 games this franchise has played on Thanksgiving. So 10 times. But plus 5 points if you can guess the very first pro football Thanksgiving game that involved a Kansas City team.
No.
The 1925 Kansas City Cowboys.
Kansas City Cowboys?
Kansas City had a team for a brief time.
NFL?
NFL. Pro football. They played the Cleveland Bulldogs in a Thanksgiving big game.
Yeah. I remember now.
At Mulebach Field, I think, at 22nd in Brooklyn. Anyway, that 1925. But Lamar Hunt loved Thanksgiving games. He loved it. Like, he loved the tradition of it. And so 10 times, there were 3 times that the Chiefs, when they're in the AFL, actually 4 times, because the Dallas Texans played in 1960. The first AFL Thanksgiving game was Lamar Hunt's team. You knew that was going to be the case.
Yeah.
So there was only 1 Thanksgiving game in the AFL, 1 in the NFL that Detroit hosted. So they're competing, but AFL had the later window. Maybe that's how Dallas got it. They wanted to take the AFL out.
Makes sense.
Anyway,
par for the course with them.
1960, the Dallas Texans played on Thanksgiving, and in 67, 68, 69, remember the Chiefs were kind of the deal. Went to Super Bowl I, really good team, went to Super Bowl IV. This is the era of that. So let's put the Chiefs on Thanksgiving in that 3 o'clock window to go against Dallas of the NFL in the AFL-NFL rivalry. And then later, kind of sparse, there were 3 different times. 1971, which was a good team, right? That's still, Len Dawson said that was the best team he ever played on. They got beaten the longest game ever played against Miami on Christmas later that year. But they played on Thanksgiving that year. So did the Chiefs in 1981 and in 1987. Then in 1995, the Chiefs went to Dallas to play the Cowboys now in the merger in that 3 o'clock window. I remember it's a big deal. We had a big dinner at Lamar Hunt's house.
Really?
Oh, yeah, it was awesome. It was just awesome because it was so important to him. The Preston Road Trophy, right? He's just playing Jerry Jones's team from down the street. They were the Super Bowl champions that year. They were really good. So that was a memory there. And then in 1996, the next season, the Chiefs played Detroit in the noon Detroit game.
Back-to-back years we played on
Back-to-back years on Thanksgiving.
Huh.
And you're either going to play at Dallas or Detroit, right? That's the deal, before the evening game that was put into 06. But the Chiefs played 2 straight years in Dallas in 1995, 1996 at Detroit. And the 96 game was big because Marcus Allen scores a touchdown. Chiefs win that game beating Detroit, but he took out Walter Payton's touchdown rushing record. And that was move over sweetness. Marcus Allen has taken your place on the end zone throne.
Okay.
And that was that day, Thanksgiving of 1996. And then the 2006 game that you remembered, that's the last one. So this isn't technically on Thanksgiving, kind of feels like it, because Thanksgiving and Thanksgiving weekend and Black Friday used to be it is still as a big college day, right? It was the Egg Bowl, which I love, between Ole Miss and Mississippi State.
Yep.
But there's always been big games. But now we're playing on Black Friday.
I kind of like playing on Black Friday, too, because we get to have like our Thanksgiving, and we're at home. So we get to be with our families, do Thanksgiving, and then Black Friday, the day after, can go play a football game. It's at 2 o'clock, which is interesting.
Well,
but
Prime Video.
Yeah.
But yes.
Here's the thing with that, though. I wanted to mention this. So I have on good authority, don't get mad at me if this isn't the case, but I'm almost 99% sure.
And Matt's always right.
If you're wondering how you're
M-A-R, Mar.
I am not.
Matt's always right.
If you're wondering,
because my wife Tammy's always right. T-A-R. It's Tar.
If you're
That's
wondering
our motto.
How to watch this game, you hear about it being on Prime Video. If you are in Kansas City, it'll be on KSHB. Okay. If you're in Kansas City, KSHB, just like you're watching a preseason game. If you're not in Kansas City, it will be on Prime Video, but you don't need to buy Prime. This game, specifically, unlike the other Thursday night football games, is available to anyone nationwide as long as you have an Amazon account, which is free to create. So if you are somewhere outside of Kansas City and you're like, I don't want to get Amazon Prime, well, you can just create a free Amazon account and watch this game. You do not need Prime. It does not cost money to watch this game. So there's that.
And of course, you always have the Chiefs Radio Network,
or just listen to Mitch.
and
that
it's
works
not
too.
And we get to be Thanksgiving at home with family and friends, but we got to pay that back because we're going to be traveling on Christmas Eve and then play on Christmas Day later against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yep.
And that game will be on Netflix, so then you can get the wheel that's those of you that bought the Mike Tyson fight. Yeah, okay. We open up that can of worms. All right.
Yeah. And anyway, again, I'm pretty sure that's the case. If it's not, I'm sorry. But I'm almost certain. I have been told it is free. So there's that.
For those of you who are not in the States but love the Chiefs, ever growing, right? Our German friends or folks from Cambodia, but although they're Americans, I guess. But the tryptophan, right? It can too much turkey sets off tryptophan, which can cause all kinds of things. Let's jump into our tryptophan-powered space station and go around the world. What do we got?
So you mentioned tryptophan. This makes me seem so dumb, which in a lot of ways I am. But I have my interests, right? Like sports, all that. Ellie,
Sports.
my wife,
More sports.
all that.
Yeah.
Ellie, when we first started dating, made me like this, I don't know, something with tryptophan in it. Must have been like some kind of turkey dish. And we got really tired. And she's like, oh, it's the tryptophan. And I had never heard the word tryptophan before. And I just thought to myself, this is the smartest girl on planet Earth. She knows the biological molecules and breakdowns of everything we ate. And now over time, I've realized that's pretty common. And I'm in the minority here. But anyway, I still think Ellie is very smart. Let's go around the world.
By the way, did South Dakota win the Missouri Valley Football Conference?
Sure did. Go Yotes.
First time ever.
Uh-huh.
How do you do it?
It's like a hook 'em horns, but instead of
but you kind of
you make a little like a coyote snoot.
Yeah.
Go Yotes.
Congratulations to USD.
Jack Cochran
for winning the SEC of FCS.
Mm-hmm. It's a big deal. It's a very big. It's a hard conference.
It's a real hard.
They got to deal with SDSU up the road in Brookings. So. Yep. Anyway, Go Yotes. We heard from Ryan in Neola, Iowa. Yep, home of the Tri-Center Trojans.
Okay.
Yep. Paul wrote in from Tonganoxie, Kansas.
Chieftains. Yep.
I mentioned on last week's episode. Tough. To who? Who'd they lose to?
Liège.
Okay. All right, whatever. I mentioned on last week's episode that Jason wrote in from Topeka, and you asked where he went to school. Mm-hmm. Well, Jason followed up. So he actually went to high school in St. Mary's, Kansas.
Home of the Bears.
There we go. He said that you would know the mascot because it's near Silver Lake, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. A lot of battles against the Bears. But they worked out NIL deals with Maple Hill.
Okay.
Yeah. And they had some recruiting going on at St. Mary's.
You're not salty about it, though.
No, not at all.
He also went to K-State from 89 to 92 and loved how you called Wildcat games.
Yep.
So
Emmett is another community that they get NIL deals with.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but...
Not saying they recruit, but...
but shout out to Tony in Mount Ayr, Iowa.
Mount Ayr.
Pretty cool, yeah. AYR, Mount Ayr.
AYR, yeah.
Home of the Raiders. Tony specified it's the only good Raiders. He said their mascot's a pirate, and the only sea near them is a sea of corn. Which, we're kind of inconsistent on this. At times I've said that I only like a mascot when it has to do with the area.
Absolutely.
But when you have, something so ridiculous, I'm actually okay with it. So, in Mount Ayr, Iowa, I'm okay with a pirate mascot because I think it's funny.
Because it's so crazy?
It's so crazy, exactly.
Sutherland, Nebraska is that same way.
Okay.
They're the Sailors.
That's funny. I like that.
Yeah, look it up. It's kind of ironic. It's Big Earl on on Starsky and Hutch. He's little, but he's big. So, yeah, there's no body of water near Sutherland, Nebraska, except a lake. But they're the Sailors.
I support that. But if you're in the middle ground, like the Blue Valley North Mustangs, you got to get a new one. It doesn't make sense.
You got to have a new one.
Tony and his brother will be at the Charger game in a few weeks. We'll see you then, Tony. We've got another Tony from Macungie, Pennsylvania. He attended a Mouse High School, home of the
Mice,
home of the Hornets.
The Hornets.
It's north of Philadelphia, so
near Shingle House.
It might be.
Okay.
We have a huge Pennsylvania influence on our organization in a lot of ways. So, Tony, you are well represented over here. Garrett is in Ugali, Florida, the Space Coast. You ever been near Cape Canaveral?
I have, but I've never
cool.
been to Ugali.
A lot of difficult pronunciations today. I'm doing my best, but Ugali.
I like it. You're taking on a challenge there.
I am. But the Space Coast, I saw a shuttle take off when I was a little kid at Cape Canaveral, and it was the coolest thing ever. I'll never forget it. Shout out to Garrett. Logan is from Westlake Hills in Austin, Texas, right down the street from where Xavier Worthy's draft party was. Yeah, it's pretty cool. He'll be in Kansas City for the Houston game. We have a listener in Oklahoma City. He likes to remind everyone that Oklahoma is Chiefs territory, not Cowboys territory. Kind of goes along with this conversation.
A battleground state.
Yep. We have Steve is in Hillsboro, Missouri, home of the...
I don't know. It's right down. I know where it's at. It's
alliterative.
St. Louis.
That helps.
I don't. I need to know.
The Hawks.
The Hawks.
Hillsboro Hawks.
Yep. Alliteration's good too.
It is.
If you're not going to have it, be something about your community. And if it's not so ridiculous that it's funny and ironic, then you must have alliteration.
That are
so
the
three, Hillsboro Hawks.
Yes, those are our three rules.
It
must fall in there. Yeah, I like that. Alaric is from Junction City, Oregon. The Texans game will be his first Chiefs game ever. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, Junction City, Oregon. Ray is in Gilbert, Arizona. I mentioned William in Albia, Iowa last week and how the block-off against the Broncos reminded him of a famous Hawkeye game.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he reminded me that not only did the Hawkeyes block a field goal to win the game, there was a penalty called on the Hawkeyes. So they had to do it again, and they blocked it again.
Wow, who was placement protection coach of the other team?
Probably wasn't
Who was
there
it
much
against?
longer. Oh, he told Northern Iowa, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm sure the special teams coach was in some hot water after that one.
Might be working at Hy-Vee right now.
And he added that their mascot, the Albia
Don't know.
Blue Demons.
Okay. There's some blue demons out there.
Blue Demons.
Right?
Let's see. I have a couple more. George is in Greece. And then lastly, this is the coolest thing ever. So I'm thrilled to report that Todd and Mary got together with Bill in Cambodia. So if you've been following along, we heard from Bill in Cambodia and Todd and Mary separately in Cambodia, in Phnom Penh, the capital. And they asked if I could connect them. I did. And they got together the other day. And as we were on the bus to go to Charlotte to fly there, they sent me some photos of them hanging out in their Chiefs gear in Phnom Penh, Cambodia. So just the coolest thing. DTK is bringing people together around the world. So shout out to all of you. One of these days I'll make it to Cambodia. Look forward to meeting you guys in person.
So we have a Cambodian Kingdom Club now.
We sure do. 3 people.
Awesome.
Yep.
Doors are open for all of Southeast Asia to join the Cambodian Kingdom Club. Let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah.
That's all I got today.
Laos, we want to hear from you next. So this episode of Defending the Kingdom, tryptophan-induced, as you can tell, is perspective and Raiders Week 2.0. We've given you the Thanksgiving history of the Kansas City Chiefs / Dallas Texans, first Black Friday game. But let's talk about perspective here, because it was really interesting after the win over the Carolina Panthers. And by the way, I saw the IT staff, who we highlighted last week. Don't click the link. We did. We did.
We clicked it.
We clicked it. We clicked it. It was 27-27.
But we reported it to IT immediately.
Immediately went to IT. You don't mess around with it. You don't let it linger. You went right to IT, and I saw our IT staff. I said, we did. Came to you, and they eradicated it, and our data was saved.
Yes.
And we win 30-27. Actually, Patrick Mahomes went to work for IT for just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
On that 33-yard run. And so did D-Hop on his third down and short yardage catch on the slant. That was big.
Spencer Schrader.
Oh, yeah, Spencer Schrader. You know what? He would be the kind that would fix it. He feels like, I could do IT. I do that, too. I have an IT company that I own. But anyway, so perspective here, because after the game, a lot of fans, even, there was a feeling of like, did we lose or did we win? Now, you don't want to – there's things we acknowledge. There's things to clean up. Coach mentioned it. We talked about it. Protection issues. You have 5 sacks against the Panthers, trying to get the Panthers off the field. Couldn't do it. They made, give them credit. They made some big third down plays. They come down to tie the game with a 2-point conversion and a touchdown. And yet, to get in a complete funk with that game can lead to other problems. So there's the perspective here of what do you extract from that game, realizing, okay, not all's rosy, but we're 10-1. 10-1, still a 1 seed, 10-1. But to get into a funk about that can lead to bigger problems. So don't borrow trouble here. And what did you see from that game to extract from a positive standpoint, or even throw in what you had concerns about, to really have the proper perspective to being 10-1 and winning 20-7 over the Panthers?
Yeah, well, first of all, I know people might think that we're making excuses when we talk about like a win as a win. I think you and I would love if we won by 20 points. That would be great. But at the end of the day, winning is the most important thing. And even though we needed the last-second field goal to win this game, it counts the same in the standings. Our physical and mental health took a toll, but we still won in the end. And that is the
like it
important
was in
thing.
good shape anyway.
That's true. That's a good point. But we won the game.
On-site cardiologist in our booth.
So we now have 10 straight 10-win seasons, okay? 10 straight, a decade straight of double-digit victories every year. That's the 3rd longest streak in the Super Bowl era. So just remember that for a moment, that every single year for a decade we've had 10-plus wins. That's incredible. Now, some perspective on, do games like what happened on Sunday happen to Super Bowl champions? I have some good ones here. So the 2004 New England Patriots, who went 14-2 and won the Super Bowl for a second straight year, needed overtime to beat the Houston Texans, who finished 5-11 that year. The 2015 Broncos with Peyton Manning needed overtime to beat the Cleveland Browns that year, who finished 3-13. The 2016 14-2 Patriots, who won the Super Bowl, needed 10 unanswered points in the fourth quarter to beat the Jets, who finished 5-11. And this is my favorite one. The 2018 Patriots, who also won the Super Bowl, lost back-to-back games against the 5-11 Jaguars and the 6-10 Lions and won the Super Bowl. So why am I saying this? Whenever things like Sunday happen and you narrowly beat a team who doesn't have a very good record, there are a lot of people out there trying to say, like, oh, this is as good as a loss. It's not. It's not.
No.
You win the game. That's all that matters. You get out of there. For a lot of these teams, I think it's kind of tired and overplayed to say, like, hey, we're their Super Bowl. I don't want to say that about the Panthers, but for Carolina, that was their opportunity to have, like, their statement victory for that coaching staff and for Bryce Young that they could talk about for a long time. Reminded me of when we beat the Packers when they were 13-0 back in 2011. The Chiefs weren't going anywhere that year, but every Chiefs fan, myself included, was going crazy, rooting for it and saying, hey, we can build off of this. For a lot of these teams, that's what they're trying to do with these games, and it makes it difficult. Now, the Chiefs scored on 6 of 8 offensive possessions, and Patrick Mahomes was excellent. We could talk more about him. There's some things to clean up defensively. I think we all know that. Third down and big plays allowed. Thankfully, the defense was quite good in the red zone. They held Carolina to 2 of 6 in the red zone. Otherwise, it's a different outcome. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is you win the game. That is all that matters. And no one looks back at the 2004 Patriots or the 15 Broncos or the 16 Patriots or the 18 Patriots and says, okay, yeah, but they were in a tight game with the Texans late, or they lost to the Lions and the Jaguars. Like, no one cares about that because they won the games and then they won the Super Bowl. So for the Chiefs, what do you learn from that game and how do you apply that moving forward?
And we can do that with the 3 Super Bowl champions that you and I have experienced in 19, 22, and 23.
Oh, yeah.
But we have sounded really the Panthers have had 4 games in a row like this. Even the loss they had before their 2 wins, they played much better. We talked about Bryce Young being so much better against the blitz, and that's now a 4-game sample size. It wasn't just against the Chiefs. That's why we were saying don't click the link. Why were people going, oh, they're just crying wolf. No, it's right there. So Carolina, and you're right, it would have set up Dave Canales and the whole next year. But the Chiefs won. They're 10-1. They're still the 1 seed. My thesis on the Minute with Mitch this week that's heard and seen and throughout the Chiefs kingdom is that in 2021, when they went to 17 games and you had to play the toughest NFC game as another game, and there's only 1 bye and the 1 seed gets the bye, oh, my goodness. There is no, oh, well, a loss is a good thing. No, none of them are good. And any win is a great win, especially since 2021. The world changed that year. Okay, let's jump into, well, I'm going to tell you what I like in that game that you can take from the game to move on. The 56-yard kickoff return by Samaje Perine.
Yeah.
You get a kickoff return like that. Those are rare now with the new kickoff rule in this day and age. It was awesome to see that. The fact that not only did 9 guys catch passes, 7, Matt, had double-digit receptions.
Yep.
7 of the 9. This wasn't just dinking and I got 5 for 6 yards. And the running backs, both Perine and Kareem Hunt, had catches of 13 yards apiece. And one was a tackle breaker in a check down throw. To get that piece of the puzzle to be consistent moving forward is so helpful in a big picture. That's what I loved about it. People are kind of on Najee Johnson, 8 tackles and a pass broken up. Najee Johnson, keep in mind, he didn't play all of last year, and the fact that he's winning his share of battles. And if we didn't have Najee Johnson right now, we'd be in a world of hurt.
Yeah.
And then the 4-point plays, you alluded to it. Spags calls them, I'm going to do a piece on this in the future. Spags calls them 4-point plays. 4 times held inside the red zone where they could have been touchdowns. Any one of those 4 points makes it 31-30 Carolina. But Spags calls them 4-point plays. And to rack those up, I thought was a big deal. Other one, Chuba Hubbard ran for 3.8, 16 for 58. Again, just put him on this list. The Chiefs have played all of the premier runners for the most part except Josh Jacobs, and they've had this kind of performance. Still, they're like, wow, Chuba Hubbard ran all over him. No, he didn't.
No, he didn't.
No, he didn't. 16 for 58, and just look what Chuba's done the rest of the year. Go back and watch or listen to our podcast last week. Then, remarkably, Pat Patrick Mahomes, after losses, is 19-4. He's only lost 23 times.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. And he's 19-4 the week after a loss. That is the best record by any quarterback in the history of the NFL, keeping this since Super Bowl era, so back to 1966. But that's just ridiculous. And for coach, you mentioned the consecutive 10-win seasons. Andy Reid has been a head coach for 26 years. 19 of the 26, he's had at least 10 wins. That's stupid crazy.
Just incredible. I think only Belichick and Shula have more of those.
Those are the only
20,
two that are better, and he's – yeah.
The coach is knocking on the door. The thing, too, with the end of the game, I understand the Panthers are 3-7, but at the end of the game, when it's tied, Patrick Mahomes and the offense go out there, and they're not shell-shocked. They're not saying, like, oh, what are we doing? Like, we're tied with the Panthers, like pointing fingers. None of that. They go out there, and they win the game. And that's what the Chiefs have done consistently every year since Patrick Mahomes got here. And it shows a championship mentality. And I get it, the Panthers are not going to the playoffs. But when you're in a game like that and you have an opportunity to win or lose the game based on what you do, those things will help you in the playoffs. You're going to face stiffer competition in the playoffs. I know it. But at least when we're in a situation like that, maybe in January or hopefully February, the guys have been there before. And they saw how the scheme and if they trust their teammates, how they can win the game. So anyway, that was a good thing in the end. I get it. We would have all loved to win by 45 points. But actually, in retrospect, maybe winning the way that they did will help this team moving forward.
Absolutely. So we're going to wrap this up, but let's just check in with the Raiders here because it is Raiders week. As you know, if you go to the Chiefs Kingdom, it's not just any week. It's Raiders week as the geeks will belt it out. And the Raiders have lost 7 straight games. Oh, my gosh. Gardner Minshew breaks his collarbone. He's out for the season. Oh, man, what are they doing? They're scoring 18 points a game in the 7-game losing streak, giving up 31. Whoa, stop. All we have to do is go back to Christmas Day of a year ago. You could almost give this copy and paste this same scenario. If Max Crosby's getting off the bus, you know it's going to be a game, and he'll get off the bus, and he wants to wreck Black Friday and everything else that the Chiefs Kingdom is going to want to enjoy. Then you look at the other two factors, I think, with this team, and that is Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers. The last 3 games, those two, Matt, have combined for 66 targets. 66 targets. Jacoby Myers had a $120 in this game against Denver that was played on Sunday, and Brock Bowers had over 100 yards in the game against the Miami Dolphins. But you look at the amount of targets that are going to these two guys and how productive they've been with those two gigantic target numbers, that poses enough of a problem, whether it's going to be Desmond Ridder or are they going to break Aiden O'Connell back or is, I don't know, Darryl LaMonica going to play? It doesn't matter with those two guys being that effective and Max Crosby and his ability to wreck the party.
Yeah, full disclosure, we're shooting this on Monday. So as of now, we don't know who the quarterback will be. I'm sure by the time you're listening to this, you probably know. But either way, I totally agree. When you have players like Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers, that certainly helps their quarterback. Bowers is having a great year. I mean, he's second in the NFL in catches with 74. Only CeeDee Lamb has more receptions than Brock Bowers does. He caught 5 passes for 58 yards against us back in Week 8, including 3 conversions on 3rd down. All 3 were like 3rd and 9. So you got to watch out for that here in this game because that's an area the Chiefs have struggled the last couple weeks is 3rd down and medium and 3rd down and long. So got to know where Brock Bowers is. Yeah, Myers, caught 10 passes for 121 yards last week. So they have good players on this team. And I know we kind of always say this with divisional games, but even more so this week, you kind of have to throw out the records and what's going on. Max Crosby wants to beat us. Max Crosby doesn't care what the records are or where the Raiders are going this season, does not care about any of it. They showed as much last year on Christmas. And Christmas is a good thing to look back at because the Raiders this year have really struggled with turnover differential. It's been a massive problem. They're minus 17 in giveaway takeaway. That's catastrophically bad. They forced just 5 takeaways all year, fewest in the NFL, and they've turned it over 22 times, most in the NFL, and they've allowed 89 points off those giveaways. But remember the Christmas game. Why did the Chiefs lose the Christmas game? It was 2 defensive touchdowns for the Raiders in the span of 9 seconds. Doesn't matter what's happened previously this year. Anything can happen in a football game. And if you're the Chiefs in this game, you have to protect the football, not let something like that happen again.
And going back to 3 paragraphs ago, the Chiefs being -5 is problematic. I know last year we got by being a -11. But let's go to the perspective here of the Carolina game. 0 turnovers.
Exactly, yeah.
And if there is 1 turnover in that game, it's like any one of those red zone stops, the game changes. And so this week, you're dead on. That game was won because of 2 defensive scores in 9 seconds in a weird, very reminiscent of the Houston game back in 2019, which is another one of those clunker games that we could put on your list way back at the beginning of the show. So, yes, taking care of business and getting it done against the Raiders coming in, who've got enough here to make this thing interesting. And we didn't mention Devion Diablo.
Yeah,
I mean,
best name in sports.
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
And before you wrap,
AJ Cole, 34-yard fake punt. Like, what do we got here?
Can I hit you with one more thing?
Sure.
This is a sponsorship read, but this is also a good thing for the holidays. So here we go. Mono Swine. Looking for the perfect holiday gift?
This is for pork, swine.
It's for wine. Earlier he's like, what's Mono's swine? Mono's wine.
Monos.
Looking for the perfect holiday
Wine.
gift?
I got it.
Monoswine.com has you covered. Give the gift of the Chiefs Championship wine collection. Each bottle is handcrafted by talented artisans and sure to impress the sports lover on your list. Cheers to great taste and team spirit. Order now at monoswine.com. We get these every year. It's very cool. I'm not a huge wine drinker, but it is cool to have on display. So check out Monos Wine. It's the holidays. Why not?
Put it by your hats?
The hats are upstairs. The wine stuff is down in the basement.
Okay.
So we redid our basement a couple of years ago, which was great because Ellie finally let me put like sports stuff on display. And the wine she thinks is classy enough to have on display. The hats are unfortunately in a box that I get to break out whenever we win the division every year, which if we can win this game against the Raiders, I think we might be able to win it against the Chargers. Again, we're shooting this on Monday. I don't know what's going to happen in the Ravens-Chargers game tonight. But the Ravens win and the Chiefs beat the Chargers and the Raiders, that might lock it up. Just
Okay.
saying.
Get those hats out.
And some Monos wine.
And Monos
Wine.
not monoswine, which
Monos wine.
enjoy, some pork products this weekend too. But I don't know, maybe Monos wine is good to mitigate the tryptophan. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah.
I don't know. We'll ask your wife. Who seems to know about these things. But it's all about perspective. It's all about pushing forward. It's all about Raiders Week 2.0.